Every major technology you rely on, your phone, your clothes, your concrete house, traces back to an accident, a mistake, a moment when someone wasn't trying to invent anything at all. But here's what's fascinating about those accidents. They reveal something profound about how human intelligence actually works. We don't always solve our greatest problems through rigid planning alone. Instead, we solve them because we have the unique cognitive ability to recognize a solution when we stumble into it while trying to do something else entirely. Today, we're walking through 10 times ancient humans accidentally invented the technologies that built civilization. And by the end, you'll see that most of modern life is built on discoveries we made so long ago, we forgot they started as mistakes. Ancient humans didn't have a modern blueprint. They had hunger, cold, curiosity, and a divinely gifted capacity to experiment with whatever they found lying around. Most of what we call innovation happened because someone left something in the wrong place, exposed it to the wrong conditions, or simply refused to throw it away. The technology you're about to hear about, none of it was initially designed. Every single one emerged from trial and error, from necessity, from moments of quiet observation, and from the simple act of paying attention to what happens when you break things and leave them in fire. The first controlled fire wasn't just discovered, it was observed, kept alive, and eventually recreated by accident until our ancestors realized they could make it happen at will. The earliest hard evidence comes from a dig in Suffolk, England, charred bones and pyrite fragments sitting next to 400,000-year-old hearths. Pyrite fools gold strikes sparks naturally. A toolmaker scraping pyrite against stone or bone notices sparks. The sparks hit dry grass. The grass ignites. And at that moment, the accidental inventor doesn't think, "I've discovered fire." They think, "Oh, what's cognitive about this?" The ability to recognize a pattern in randomness, to see a random spark, connect it to the outcome of warmth and safety, and then deliberately recreate the accident. That's not instinct. That's the birth of experimental thinking. Neanderthals were brilliant in ways we're only now fully appreciating. Around an ancient campfire in what's now Germany, someone burns birch bark to stay warm. The bark releases a sticky tar residue accidentally. Someone notices the tar doesn't disappear. It clings to stone. And then this is the leap they think. I could use this. Birch tar doesn't occur naturally in a usable form. To exploit this accident, they had to reverse engineer it. They figured out the exact temperature, the oxygen-deprived burn duration, and the collection method. They created glue, the first synthetic material. They used it to haft stone points to wooden spears, making weapons far more effective than anything before. This wasn't just tool making. This was early chemistry. What's cognitive? The ability to look at waste literal ash and sticky residue and see potential. To ask what if about something that initially seemed like a useless mess. Around 9000 BCE, someone built a campfire using copper-rich stones to ring the flames. The fire got hot, the copper melted, and for the first time, a human saw solid rock flow like water. They'd stumbled into the entire field of metallurgy by accident. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Fast forward 6,000 years. Coppersmiths are smelting ore routinely now. They're good at it. And then around 3000 BCE in Georgia, someone adds iron-rich rocks to their copper furnace, not on purpose, but because they were nearby and looked similar. The iron oxidizes. The copper yields suddenly increase. The smith doesn't fully grasp the chemistry yet. They just notice the ore produces more metal. That mistake iron contaminating copper set the stage for the Iron Age, an entire epoch of human civilization born from a workplace accident. What's cognitive? The willingness to trust the accident more than the original intention. When results beat your plan, do you investigate why, or do you just repeat what worked? Someone, somewhere, mixed tin with copper not because they planned a new molecular structure, but because both metals were smelted nearby, and the ores got mixed in the furnace. The result was bronze. Harder, stronger, golden yellow, and incredibly durable. This accidental alloy triggered the Bronze Age. We don't know the exact name of the person who did it. We just know that once humans noticed bronze worked better, they worked backwards to figure out how to make it again. They didn't invent the process from scratch. They perfected the art of reverse engineering. They learned to ask, what did we do differently this time? And that question, that cognitive leap, became the foundation of all modern materials science. Imagine grain left in water, not by design, but by simple oversight. Rain falls. The container sits. Wild yeasts from the air colonize the mixture. The starches convert to sugar. The sugar ferments. After days, the mixture smells different, tastes different. And when someone consumes it, they realize it doesn't make them sick, it actually preserves the nutrients of the grain. This was the accidental birth of fermentation, discovered by leaving organic materials alone long enough for microbes to do the work humans didn't even know existed. The cognitive breakthrough here is profound. Humans learned that controlled chemistry produces miraculous results. You don't always have to physically force an outcome. Sometimes the smartest move is to set the right conditions and let nature do the work. This principle, fermentation, curing, and culturing, became the absolute foundation for food preservation, life-saving medicine, and eventually modern biotechnology. The Egyptians made flatbread for millennia. Dough went straight to the hot stone oven, flat, dense, and heavy. Then someone left dough sitting out overnight. Wild yeast colonized it, the same invisible yeast present in the air. The dough rose. The baker, facing a decision to either discard the ruined batch or bake it anyway, chose to bake it. The result was fluffy, airy, and incomparably better than flatbread. One overnight accident became the birth of leavened bread, which eventually fed entire empires. And here's the thing. This channel explores exactly these moments when ancient humans stumbled into something world-changing simply by paying attention to what happened when they didn't follow the plan. If you're curious about this kind of story, the hidden intelligence in accidents, the moments that shaped our world, hit subscribe. This is what we do here. Some of our oldest art isn't carved stone, it's clay shaped by hand and hardened. But durable pottery wasn't a planned invention, it was discovered by accident. A tracker built a campfire over a patch of clay. The clay hardened under the heat. Later, someone noticed, clay becomes entirely different when exposed to intense heat. It hardens, holds its shape permanently, and becomes water-resistant in ways raw clay never could. The first pottery was made by this exact accident, clay near a fire, accidentally baked, and discovered to be useful. Then humans did what we do best. We repeated the accident deliberately until we understood it well enough to control it. Pottery led to storage. Storage led to food surplus. Food surplus built the first cities. The legend recorded by ancient historians says Phoenician merchants were grounded on a sandy beach near the Belus River in modern-day Lebanon. To cook their food, they built a campfire using blocks of natron and alkali mineral they were transporting as support stones because there were no rocks around. The fire got incredibly hot. The natron melted. The silica sand beneath melted. The two fused together. When the fire died down, the merchants found a transparent, glowing, hardened material where the sand had been. They had stumbled upon glass. They didn't understand the chemical fusion of silica and soda. They just knew they could make it again by repeating those exact conditions. One of history's most transformative materials was discovered because someone needed to cook a meal on a beach and used whatever was on hand to prop up a fire. What's profound? Glass requires temperatures humans couldn't produce easily back then. But they could produce it accidentally by stacking materials without fully understanding why. Cognitive insight sometimes lags behind physical capability. Our earliest evidence for woven textiles comes from 30,000-year-old flax fibers found braided in caves across Eurasia. Flax doesn't naturally form thread on its own. Humans had to notice that plant fibers, when twisted together, become remarkably strong, far stronger than any single fiber alone. We don't know the exact day this happened. We just know someone, perhaps trying to repair a shelter or experimenting with plant material, discovered that twisting creates tension and repeating that twist creates durability. This was the birth of textile technology, and it traces back to someone simply paying attention to how fibers behave when you treat them differently than nature originally presented them. Roman concrete is still standing today. 2,000 years old, structures like the Pantheon remain completely intact, while modern concrete crumbles in decades. Why? Because Romans accidentally discovered that mixing volcanic ash, pozzolana, with lime creates a material that actually gets stronger over time when exposed to water. They didn't understand the mineral chemistry of mineral growth. They just knew that certain volcanic regions produced dust that made superior concrete. They systematized the accident, repeated it across their empire, and built monuments that outlasted their civilization. What's cognitive? The ability to notice which accidents are worth keeping. Not every accident is useful, but the ones we systematize, reverse engineer, and turn into tradition become the very foundation of our world. That comfortable feeling when you're wrapped in linen, sitting in a concrete building drinking fermented tea? You are experiencing 30,000 years of beautiful accidents. Accidents that became technologies. Technologies that became the very fabric of civilization. And the most important technology of all, the one we are still mastering, is our ability to notice when something unexpected happens and ask, why? And can we do it again? That is the true nature of human intelligence. Not just planning, but paying attention. That is what built us, and that is what still builds us.